Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ponderings of the Priest. What I'd like for us to look at today and what I'd like to reflect upon today is looking within. Looking within ourselves as we look at and ponder the culture of violence in which we live. We have great polarization these days. We have horrific events of mass violence. We have finger pointing and screaming and social media posts that scream vengeance, that scream violence, that scream revenge. And as Gandhi once said, all we're going to do with an eye for an eye is end up blind. And so how do we as a people of faith look to this culture of violence in which we find ourselves and begin to find a solution for it? Because what we have now is also a culture of blame, a culture of finger pointing, people saying what other people need to be doing. The problem is television, the problem is video games, the problem is lack of proper gun control, the problem is. And really, where we need to be looking is twofold. We need to be looking, or we can choose to look, to the teachings of Jesus and also within ourselves. Jesus tells us it's easy for us to love those who love us, but he challenges us to love our enemies and love those who hate us and persecute us. He tells us that it is no credit to us if we only love those whom we love. That our challenge as a people of faith is to love those with whom we disagree. Our baptismal vows talk about respecting the dignity of every human being. So where we can begin, and I think where the source of all of this must begin, is within ourselves. To look within ourselves in the ways that we live this culture of violence. How are we violent in our behavior, in our speech, in our driving, in our actions, in our thoughts, in thought and word and deed? How are we violent? Do we strike our spouses? Do we strike our children? I'll never forget the day that one of the boys was angry with the other and he punched him, and I reached over and I grabbed his arm, and as I was mid-swing to swat his little bottom, as I'm saying, "Don't hit your brother," I caught myself and said, well, isn't this a great lesson you're teaching him? Don't hit your brother, and I'm going to hit you to teach you to not hit. So what's that all about? How many of us drive with aggression and with violence towards other drivers, flip them a bird, swear at them while we're driving? How many of us treat our spouses, if not physically violently, emotionally violently? Our violence is within. And until we get a handle on that, and until we prayerfully incorporate what Jesus has taught us, to pray for those who persecute us, to love our enemies, to learn how to have conversations with each other when we disagree, because maybe, just maybe, we're all right. Maybe I've got a little bit of the truth, and maybe you've got a little bit of the truth, and maybe somebody else does too. But until we learn to listen to each other, we'll never know. And all we will continue to do is to foster this culture of violence in which we find ourselves. So look within, look to yourself, pray for help, pray for guidance, pray for love, and pray for peace. Have a wonderful day, everyone.